Defense Conclave organized by bharatshakti.in, StratNewsGlobal.com, and interstellar.news. Before I get into introducing all our dignitaries and getting into the inaugural session of this event, I will first request Nitin Gokhale, the founder and editor-in-chief, to please escort our dignitaries on stage one by one. Ms. Nivruti Rai, Ambassador P.S. Raghavan, Dr. S. Somnath, Professor Ajay Kumar Sood. I will take a couple of minutes to say a few words about our journey so far before I familiarize all of you with today's program. Bharat Shakti was raised in 2015 with a focus on the Indian defense industry, especially MSMEs and export of Indian products. The idea of a conclave germinated a few months later, and we hosted the first edition of the conclave in August 2016, our annual marquee event. We then called it the Defense Attachés Conclave. Over the years, we expanded and launched StratNewsGlobal in 2020. The scope and focus of the conclave also increased, and in the 6th edition in 2021, we renamed the event as the India Defense Conclave. We organized Catalyst as a separate event last year, focusing on green energy, e-mobility, and new technologies like 5G. Earlier this year, we continued to grow and launched interstellar.news. In today's conclave, Catalyst forms an integral segment of India Defense Conclave. In the first half of the day, we will focus on new and emerging technologies and their applications in the civil and military domains. Post-lunch, we will have the India Defense Conclave with the focus this year primarily on building India's defense future. You all have a delegate bag in front of you, and you might have gone through the agenda of the day that is provided to you in a booklet inside that bag. So let us start the day. I see many defense attachés here, and I'm sure your strength will only increase as the day progresses. You know this event is primarily for you. I welcome all of you this morning. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you're posting on your social media accounts, please remember to use the hashtags IDC 2023 and Catalyst 2023, and do tag our handles at @StratNewsGlobal and @Bharat Shakti BSI. So let us begin the inaugural session of the Catalyst, after which we will have 2 knowledge sessions. None of you probably need an introduction, but still, for those of you who have come here for the first time, I would like to introduce Nitin Gokhale, founder and editor-in-chief, bharatshakti.in, StratNewsGlobal, and interstellar.news. He's an author, thought leader, and one of South Asia's leading strategic analysts who has had 40 years of rich and varied experience behind him as a conflict reporter, editor, author, and now a media entrepreneur who owns and curates these 3 important digital platforms. The platforms, bharatshakti.in, stratnewsglobal.com, and interstellar.news focuses on national security, strategic affairs and foreign policy matters, and the upcoming Indian space industry and new and emerging technologies. I request Nitin Gokhale to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Nilanjana, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome. I'm sorry for a slight delay in beginning our inaugural session in the first half of the day, but we are on our way, and I'm sure we'll make up as we go along the time, and we'll keep our record of starting and ending on time as we go along. So as Nilanjana has already explained, we are about 8 years old in this space. We started this as a Defense Attachés Conclave, but then we realized that the increasing overlap of geopolitics geoeconomics and geostrategy, and increasing use of space and outer space for different applications, both defense and civil, we needed to expand the scope of our work and our conference from just purely focusing on the defense sector, which was anyway taking a different turn in India since 2015-16 under the rubric of Make in India and what is now called Atmanirbharta or self-reliance. And therefore, we have now decided that we will have this conference in two segments. First is about emerging and critical technologies, and of course, look at optimal solutions which can be arrived at in a very cost-effective manner for use of both the civil and military domains and the users in civil and military domains. We've been fortunate to have great support from the government agencies. As you can see, all the dignitaries here. We have the principal scientific advisor, Professor Ajay Sood. We have Ambassador Raghavan, who is the chairman of the NSAB, and of course the chairman of DRDO, Dr. Samir Kamath, and Ms. Nivruti Rai, who is the vice chairperson and CEO of Invest India, which is doing a great job in promoting India abroad and trying to get investments into India. So I'm grateful to all of them and all of you for making this event every year a big success. Every year our scope has increased, and that's thanks mainly to the participation of our foreign friends who get to know where the Indian industry in both defense as well as in the critical and emerging technologies is going, what they have on offer, and what they can source from India as an alternate destination instead of buying it from Western countries. Can India be the source of these technologies? Can India be a reliable partner in securing what we call the larger Indo-Pacific and of course the Indian Ocean region and the region around India is what we discuss here. I'm sure the takeaways will be very relevant to policymakers, decision makers, as well as our friends from the industry. So I'm not going to take much time. All that I want to say again is that we are grateful at Bharat Shakti, as well as StratNewsGlobal and Interstellar.com, Interstellar.news, which is our third and youngest portal, focused on space and the upcoming space industry. So welcome once again, and very grateful for all of you for being here in such large numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nitin. It is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Nivruti Rai, the MD and CEO of Invest India. Ms. Nivruti Rai joined Invest India after an illustrious 29 years at Intel as a global business and technology leader. She's been part of the leadership team in various industrial bodies and government committees and has worked closely with industry associations, business leaders, and government leaders. Ms. Rai brings her vast global business leadership experience and invaluable technological expertise across multiple industrial sectors, including semiconductors, electronics, automotive, telecommunications, healthcare, and manufacturing, to Invest India. She is the recipient of the prestigious Nari Shakti Puraskar from the Honorable President of India for her remarkable contributions in the field of technology. Ms. Rai, I request you to deliver the special address. Can I have a round of applause for her, please? Thank you.
Thank you. So very good morning, everyone. I must apologize that I got few minutes late. I'm from Bangalore, and in Bangalore, I always have 10 to 15 minutes guard band put. So when Google tells me 45 minutes, I plan 1 hour. But surprisingly today, I planned 1 hour and I came here in 1 hour, 15 minutes. So huge apologies to all of you. Very good morning to all of you again. And I must say, when I look at defense, when I look at people working for defense, I'll tell you I have a lot of feelings in my heart, feeling of gratitude, feeling of thankfulness, because you know the simple meaning, whichever dictionary you pick up, the meaning of defense is protecting someone, something, some data. In your case, you're protecting the country, you're protecting the freedom, you're protecting the world and humanity. So my kudos and tremendous amount of regards to anyone and everyone who's doing anything for defense. Thank you very much, Mr. Nitin Godkhleji, for inviting me. Thanks and welcome to all of the dignitaries, my friends. I'm really honored to be here and talk to you. I am the CEO and MD of Invest India, and just the name suggests my responsibility is to drive investment into India and also from India. But the second part, which is more important, is I'm committed to the return of investment. Whether investment is coming into India, I care about the return. I am there for return. And if investment is going from India, I also care about return. Similarly, there's trade that just recently got added to our charter. And lastly is R&D. R&D is very important for me because, like my introduction, 30 years with Intel and semiconductors, I have worked on building a transistor. I have put the transistors together to make an IP. You all use USB all the time for your storage. And then many of such IPs to build a compute system, and many of those compute systems to build a platform, and many of those platforms to create clouds and servers and networking. So I have gone through all of that. And let me tell you the importance, what I gather from you as, defense conclave or anybody working in defense. Let me start with World War II. Everybody knows that, what the Enigma machine was. It was a cipher device, just trying to make sure that the information went through. What Turing did is build another machine called Bombay, which would intercept and break the information of Enigma. When there is a technology, there can be an anti-technology. So that was Alan Turing, the master of, or the father of artificial intelligence. Then there was another thing. When I moved to India, I was given the first OCI award, and that was my first interaction with the Prime Minister of India. And there were many routes that were marked. These are Prime Minister's route, and the traffic was blocked. We didn't know which route the Prime Minister was going to take because it's important for his security. Guess what Heidi Lamar did? She was an Austrian actress. She built a system which was called frequency hopping spread spectrum system, which would transmit data by frequency hopping. You didn't know which frequency it was going to take. So somebody is building an Enigma machine for secure transmission, and somebody is building a technology which is frequency hopping. Every time there is a technology which is built for harming the protection organization, and in many cases it's defense, which comes up with an anti-technology. Very recently, sadly, we hear about Israel and what's happening between Israel and a few nations. There are rockets being launched, and then there is an iron bomb, which is trying to protect. US has something called Patriot. So I really feel technology plays a huge role in the miscreants who try to harm and in the protectionists who try to save. I will also tell you about a simple World Wide Web. Everybody is using it. It was funded by Department of Defense. They came up with secure gateway interface. So a lot of research is being driven for protection, comes from defense. Very recently, I was working on blockchain. As my previous role, we were very responsible for AI and we were responsible for blockchain. Blockchain is essentially an answer to this problem, which is often referred to as Byzantine generals problem. When there is a split of an army working in different places, how do you make sure that you have information that is, together for all of the split army base? So when there is a problem, there is a solution. And I really feel the world of today with digital, we talked about cipher device and Enigma during the World War II. I think this was closer to, I believe, 1940s. 39 to 45 is the World War II. So somewhere in between, Enigma was created. And this was, cipher device. Then Bombay was created to, intercept. What we are looking at today, a cipher device can be a VPN, as simple as a VPN, as simple as, these virtual networks and machines that create this gateway of secure transmission. As the world is getting more and more into digital, more and more that, data is in the air today. I don't even know how much data is available, how much data is being captured. Just this morning, my husband's both the credit cards got compromised, and somebody in Best Buy in US was using his credit card. What we were able to do, instantly get onto the web page, block the card. So cyber attacks, anti-cyber attacks. What are some of the technologies that are being worked on? Many times there are technologies that we are working on which we do not want to talk about, because before we talk about, there's an anti-technology that comes into the picture. So I really feel technology plays a very, very crucial role. And as a technologist, as an R&D, we need to look at what tomorrow has in store for us. I want to end with, growing up as a technologist, everybody knows hydrogen plus oxygen is water. Hydrogen plus oxygen in an environment creates hydrogen fuel. It creates the energy that can power your car. Now, let's look at hydrogen plus hydrogen, which is a fusion, creates helium. Do you know? I mean, you, of course, all of you know. During this fusion, so much energy is created, it creates a hydrogen bomb. 1,000 times more powerful than a uranium-based atom bomb, which was, the history tells us, Japan suffered the implications of it. 1945. 7 years later, what is called as H-bomb, which is hydrogen fusion. Fusion, just like the name suggests, two nuclear, heavier nuclear, more powerful, 1,000 times more powerful, 1952. What happens in India? We are not just looking at land. We are not just looking at, so land is our army, defense, not Air Force, army and defense. Air is our Air Force. Navy in the water. Now we are talking about space. We have satellites that are watching over. Satellites watching over for any change. Satellites also for detection. Satellites also for use. So with India driving its Mars mission and its Moon mission, it's preparing for protection in the space. So what excites me is, if there are miscreants who are thinking use of technologies like AI, technologies like machine learning, deep learning, and even getting into quantum. I know Professor Ajay Sood is working on quantum. The protectionists are working on breaking that and creating an anti-technology. So I'm committed as an R&D for Invest India to drive and participate in many such researches, in partnering with academic institutes, in partnering with countries. I really believe our democratic vision and dream, many nations share. And I honestly believe that R&D and innovation needs to be open, partnerships need to be enabled, lateral, bilateral, multilateral relationships need to be established. We are working on many such things. I just visited Argonne National Lab. I was very excited to see what they're doing in terms of research in lithium ion. This is going to be leveraged for, our EV dreams. So I'm very excited working on the Agni mission with the principal scientific advisor. I have a small team that works with the PSA. We have Startup India. I'll tell you that there was a time when India was synonymous to software. And, we were building software for companies and others. Now, India has a dream of its own. It's building software in the terms of, these open platforms, whether it is biometric identity with Aadhaar, or it is, health platforms that Nandan Nilekani is working on, or it's the ONDC, which is the e-retail platform that can enable 600,000 MSMEs to access the world market and sell their products. So I really feel India is ready with its dreams that leverages R&D might, that leverages scale, that leverages the ability for democratic dreams. And I really feel the world of tomorrow is going to be very different. There may be wars happening which we don't even know or feel is happening in this space, but it can harm humanity. So I really feel that as a nation, as this defense conclave, we need to work together. I want to end with a quote from Dhirubhai Ambani. And I actually just shared this with an Indian diaspora, and I'll tell you how I connected the two quotes that I just made. One is Dhirubhai Ambani says, if you are not going to work on your dream, somebody will hire you to work on theirs. And I will just remind you of a history that happened, sadly. This was, long back in our own country in Jallianwala Bagh. And the reason I bring it because very recently I traveled there. I saw the bullet marks on the walls. I saw the well where lots of people just jumped in to save themselves. But, they were shot dead in those wells, little children, women, everybody. What happened there is our own Indian soldiers were working on the dream of somebody else. So working on somebody else's dream, we harmed our own selves. So let's work on our dream, which is to save humanity, the protectionist that you are, to save the world, to grow the world, leverage technology, and catapult ourselves to be the winners. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rai. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Sameer Kamath to you all. Dr. Kamath took over as the Secretary, DDR&D and Chairman, Defense Research and Development Organization, or DRDO, on the 26th of August, 2022. He has provided leadership and direction to several critical materials programs in DRDO, such as the development of high-strength steels for naval ship hulls, development of high-temperature titanium alloys, and nickel-based superalloy-based components for aero engines, which have found use in various systems being developed by DRDO laboratories. In addition, he has spearheaded the development of naval systems such as advanced lightweight torpedo, anti-torpedo decoy systems, towed array sonars for ships, and fuel cells-based air-mounted and independent propulsion systems for submarines. Dr. Kamath, I request you to please address the gathering. Can I have a round of applause for the DRDO chief? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm indeed very happy to be here. And I thank, can you hear me? Am I audible? So I'm indeed thankful to Nitin Gokhale for giving me this opportunity to participate and address you in this India Defense Conclave. I don't want to carry coal to Newcastle. I think the audience here knows the importance of technology and R&D for defense. So I will highlight what we are doing in DRDO to make this dream or this necessity possible in the country. Till recently, DRDO's focus was on developing systems to meet our services need. But as the industry matures in the country, and in the last few years, the capability development in the industry has been quite significant. So gradually, DRDO's focus is going to shift towards development of these new emerging critical futuristic technologies. And we want to leverage the expertise which is available in our academia, which is available in our emerging startup ecosystem, as well as our MSMEs, to build this capability for providing our services, the cutting edge systems they would need to ensure the security of the nation. So the first initiative that we have taken is to open 15 centers of excellence. We call this DRDO Industry Academia Centers of Excellence. We have started 15 such in the prominent academic institutions in the country. For each of these centers of excellence, we have identified the domain areas in which they would specialize. We have set them targets on where they want to reach, where we want them to reach, say in the next 5 years, 10 years, in all of these emerging and futuristic technologies. So we expect these centers of excellence to act as hubs and create an ecosystem around themselves which would make the country a leader in some of these technologies. Parallelly, we have started what is known as Technology Development Fund, where we can fund up to 50 crores. Any industry, MSME or a startup, which has a promising idea, which can then be translated by this proper funding, mentoring into a technology or a product which would be useful for our services. Thirdly, we have also started 5 young scientists laboratories within DRDO, each working on these emerging areas such as AI, quantum. In these laboratories, every scientist, including the director, are below the age of 35. We think that this will become the equivalent of startups within DRDO. And as we go along, we will increase the number of areas in which we will start more of these laboratories. Earlier, the defense and aerospace used to provide the leadership in technologies, and gradually that used to diffuse into civilian domains. But the way that world is changing, it is now the civilian domain which is driving most of these disruptive technologies. And they are then getting eventually incorporated into defense systems. So we want to leverage this entire civil military fusion to drive development of critical technologies for military applications and make the country a leader within the next 15-20 years as envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister. So these are exciting times, and I'm sure conclaves as this one would result in how we can work together to achieve this leadership. So my best wishes to all of you for a very successful deliberation in this conclave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamath. And now I would like to introduce all of you to the chairman of the NSAB, Ambassador P.S. Raghavan. The National Security Advisory Board advises India's National Security Council on issues of security and strategic affairs. In a 36-year diplomatic career, Ambassador Raghavan has served in different capacities in the USSR, Poland, United Kingdom, Vietnam, and South Africa. He has been India's ambassador to Russia from 2014 to 16 and Ireland from 2007 to 11. From 2000 to 2004, he served in the Indian Prime Minister's office, dealing with foreign affairs, defense, national security, space, and atomic energy. In the Ministry of External Affairs from 2011 to 14, he founded and headed the Development Partnership Administration, which implements India's projects abroad. He writes and lectures widely on foreign and national security and strategic affairs. Sir, may I request you to please address the gathering. Can I have a round of applause for the Ambassador Raghavan, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Well, let me first thank Nitin Gokhale, Bharat Shakti, and StratNewsGlobal for inviting me here, and also to congratulate them on this extraordinary success of this annual exercise that you're having. I've been watching this for a while and seeing it literally before my eyes, growing in stature, in geographical reach, and of course in its domain coverage itself. And the presence here, of course, of the dignitaries on the days and the participants, I think is eloquent testimony to that. I think this initiative caught at the right time the rising tide of three related currents. The need to strengthen indigenous capacity in our defense industry, to diversify our technology acquisition and technology absorption process, and to accelerate the civil-military fusion. In the National Security Advisory Board, of course, we have been constantly focusing on recommending initiatives to the government for accessing, producing, and leveraging technology that are critical for national development and, of course, for national security and defense. We, of course, are seeing today the extraordinary explosion of technologies that are transforming war fighting, defense, and deterrence. We see in the Ukraine war, of course, the synthesis of electronic, cyber, and space technologies which enable pinpoint targeting and greater destruction, of course. Again, we've heard this, quantum information technologies will revolutionize intelligence collection, stealth technologies, encryption, code breaking. So all of these are areas where we are looking for greater cooperation within the country, outside the country, with administrators, policy makers, technology creators, technology absorbers. And of course, one of the things that I think Nitin sort of hinted at is the fact that as the world's largest arms importer, India should fine-tune strategies for leveraging this fact to maximize technology transfers from outside. Another aspect, of course, is this meaningful participation of the private sector in defense R&D. That again is something that conclaves like this emphasize, because the paradigm shift in recent years has been that most technologies are developed first in the civil sector and then absorbed and adapted in the military sector and in the defense sector. I think if you look at the Ukraine war, that is a very graphic illustration of this. If you look at what Elon Musk and his Starlink has done, is an enormous demonstration of this. And I think we are going to see space technologies emerge in various aspects of war fighting and war deterrence. And I think we have a very eminent space scientist on the dais here, Dr. Somnath, who has led India to some path-breaking achievements in space. I think the government's policy decision also to open up space to the private industry, it's going to, I think, create a very major thrust in India's space technology development in the public sector as well as in the private sector. I think the CEO of Invest India mentioned this. You know, while we are rapidly absorbing hardware and equipment, we should not neglect the urgency of capacity building in cyber security, in the software part of it. In India, we are, I think, woefully short of cyber professionals, particularly with domain expertise in various sectors. And there's an urgent need to build up a cadre of cyber professionals. If people talk about 1 million cyber professionals in the next 5 years or so, we need to step up accreditation programs. We need to step up large-scale training programs. I think later today we will have our National Cyber Security Coordinator, General Unni Nair, who is really driving this exercise. Another point, which again the CEO of Invest India mentioned, is that amidst all this proliferation of technologies, some very destructive technologies are being captured by non-governmental elements, anti-state elements, and we really need to see how we build up defenses against such developments. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I also want to mention one fact which I mentioned last year at this conclave as well. One of the problems that technology creators face, or some of the problems technology creators face, is, shall we say, inadequate technology literacy in policy and decision-making circles. I'm putting it gently, but both in the bureaucracy and in some political levels, which actually slow down the absorption of transformation technologies, both in the civil and the defense sector. And I think the scientists who are here on the dais have experienced this in various ways in the course of their long careers as well. We also seem to have a technology apathy, which slows down the absorption of technologies, both in the civil and in the military defense sector. And there is a technology skepticism. The unwillingness to believe that we have and we can develop technologies within our countries for applications which we need, which is more appropriate and more economical than what we can get outside. Very often this is, of course, caused by ignorance and apathy as well, but also, I'm sorry to say, vested interests, which we have to fight against. So what we need is a better domestic awareness of our technology prowess and what we can achieve. And again, the scientists and technologists on the dais here show us the directions as to how to do that. And finally, while congratulating Nitin on this enormous success of this initiative and its expansion of domain, I have been urging him to expand the geographical footprint of this event as well. We have a number of such events in Delhi. All of you are here in Delhi. But there is, I would like to point out, innovation and technology. There are innovation and technology hubs in the south of the country as well. And I think some of this dynamism and some of this vibrancy should also move to the south. I talk about Bangalore not only because I live there, but also because it is a center of innovation and new technologies. And I'd like to see conclaves like this, conferences like this, also move southward. I hope to see this by next year. Thank you.
That made me very happy, sir. I'm also from Bangalore. Our next speaker needs no introduction, but a couple of lines about Dr. S. Somnath, the chairperson of ISRO. Dr. Somnath is an aerospace engineer with over 35 years of experience in the space sector. He joined ISRO in 1985 and has since then served in many positions at the Liquid Propulsion System Center and the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. As part of his role as ISRO chairman, Dr. Somnath is focusing on technology, policy, implementation, and areas where stakeholders need to be taken care of. He is also, very importantly, working to expand the ecosystem of space into industries. Sir, I request you to deliver the keynote address.
Good morning, all of you. Distinguished panelists who are there. Really an honor to be invited to India Defence Conclave, Catalyst 2023. I may be an outsider, because all the time we have been telling space is for certain purpose, and it has nothing to do with the domain of discussion that are going to happen today. But over the years, we are now realizing the potential of space and the work that's being done in space for the strategic intent. It's not a new awareness, it has been all the time there, but it's becoming more and more evident in the present times. The role played by the assets that we have created in space, both in civilian and strategic domain, both becomes very, very important. For as far as the security of any nation is concerned, the business and investments that are coming into this domain is concerned, it becomes equally important. So we see the work done in space sector, not only in space sector, I will say it's in other engineering sectors become equally important as a strategic asset for any nation. And considering this, the outlook in the space sector is actually being changed in the recent times. I think all of you are aware of the space sector reform that has been announced by the government in 2020 and the new policy that has come out in space sector in 2023 called the Space Policy 2023, which separates out the roles and responsibilities of the Department of Space, the ISRO, the InSpace, which is a new entity we have created, and also the non-governmental entities in space. So here the role of the new actors who are in space sector comes very, very clear, that they are encouraged to work in space, not only in some domains which are earlier allowed, but in every domain, building rockets to delivering applications in every sector. Private entrepreneurs are now encouraged, supported by the government to invest and create the capacity in India. And the role played by the National Space Agency, the ISRO, is now modified a bit to an extent that ISRO will continue to do the research and development and create the high-value technologies within the organization and make it available to the private entrepreneurs to create more value or business out of it. I think this direction is very, very clear. And we have an InSpace, which is another organization which is supposed to handhold and help the non-governmental actors to come into space sector. So with this background, if I look at the technology developments that are required in this sector, I think I will invite you to the role played by ISRO in the past in creating the industrial capacity in India to manufacture the rockets, the satellites, and much of the technology hardwares which are required for the space program in India. Though it happened over the past, we have almost 200, 300 companies who are contributing to space sector, big, small, medium capacity industries. And many of them have really created a niche for themselves in terms of the manufacturing, in terms of re-engineering many of the capacities which we were earlier importing from the past, from outside. And today we have for rockets that we build in India, almost 90+% of the components, materials, manufacturing sourced from Indian companies. And for spacecrafts, it's continued to be approximately 50%. We still have a long way to go, especially related to the electronic components and high-end devices. In the future, we see the role played by space sector is going to be more and more prominent in the strategic domain, especially in the domains of the communication, Earth observation, PNT services. All of them will become an integral part of the strategic capability that nation is going to look at. I think all of you are now aware that the civilian low Earth orbit constellation is actually a strategic capability. Though they don't call it as a strategic system, but it is a strategic capability for every nation who actually have the control on such infrastructure. So even the communication infrastructure that you are going to create in this country is going to be very, very important at the times of the need. And so is the case for Earth observation constellations that we have here in India. The number of satellites that we have launched in the Earth observation is very, very less. They are hardly 15, 16, or even less than 20 who are in operation. And for a nation like us who have an interest not only for the civilian aspect of the Earth observation and also want to look at the much beyond our boundaries, the number of satellites that we have are very, very less, and these numbers have to be increased substantially in the coming days. And it's not only the numbers have to be increased, then we need to ensure the repetitivity, the reusability, the signal or the spectral diversity has to be much, much higher for allowing observations of various kinds, and technology growth in this domain is very, very important. The PNT services, the position, navigation, timing services, which are generated by the NAVIC system, which is a regional navigation system what India has launched, need to be strengthened. It has to be expanded for the purpose of the strategic needs. This is another important domain, and we have to improve the penetration of NAVIC into the systems that we have in India, both in terms of the ground-based system as well as the handheld devices. This is another goal that we have set for ourselves. Yet another domain is the launch and the launch cost. I think all of you are aware that the innovations that are happening in the rocket technology and the reusability is actually causing disruption in this field. The access to space is now becoming much better. Everybody can have a satellite. Earlier it used to be only for select few to build and launch a satellite, but now it's very easy for somebody to conceive a satellite, build a satellite and launch at affordable cost. It came out of the simple reason that the launch costs are coming down because of the innovation in rocket technology. And this has to become widespread capability, but it's not an easy thing because you have huge investment required in building rockets, and long gestation time don't allow people to invest in rocket building. So we have to invest in rocket technology as a public funded capacity and enable industries to produce and launch in large numbers, especially with regard to reusable rockets, which is going to be one of the important domain of work in ISRO. And we also want to look at the expendable rocket to be reusable, but also winged reusable rockets which can go up and stay in orbit for months together, do observations and come back and land whenever we want. And this capacity is very, very important in the strategic point of view. We also look at other modes of building spacecrafts. For example, earlier satellites used to be built out of very space grade components, which are very extremely costly. And we are now looking at how commercial electronic devices can be used for building spacecraft at affordable cost, and the turnaround time can be substantially reduced from the earlier years to months together. And the redundancy that you can build in because the commercial components are much in small footprint, mass and power. And this enables you to build redundancies in systems and possibly low life spacecrafts. Earlier satellites used to be 10 years, 15 years life. Now they don't have to be of that life. At an affordable cost, you can allow satellites to be having 3 years, 5 years of life and still bring them back after the function is over. So this is another domain of bringing commercial off-the-shelf components into space domain. Quantum becomes very important. We already started this domain, especially in the area of quantum communication, quantum cryptography, quantum key distribution. It's going to be very important to give secured communication to terrestrial networks. On-demand launches are important, that whenever there is a need for us to launch satellites, we must be in a position to launch in very short notice, especially for low altitude observational capacity. Intelligence gathering through various means becomes important. It's not only for communication, it's also for signal intelligence and other modes of intelligence that need to be achieved through space. We also look at space assets need to be protected. It's not the assets on the ground need to be protected by the strategic capacity that we develop. We need to ensure that all the assets that we are putting in space also need to be protected. So we need to have observational capacity from ground to ensure they are tracked, they are monitored, they are secured by conscious actions that are taking place in the ground. For that, we need to create more and more ground-based observatories, radars, or even space-based observatories to look at and secure the assets that you have created. Human space is important. Human space flight capability is important because it becomes an important tool for robotic and also extravehicular activities to build up larger constellations of capacity in the future, build larger constellations by assemblage of systems, or even conducting human-based experiments for technology development in space, etc. So this becomes a strategic capacity. And also we look at even planetary missions as a capacity which is required to be as a strategic capacity. It's not just for the moon landing, as you have seen in Chandrayaan 3, is not just a demonstration of a technology capacity. It's also an intent to create a technological supremacy in terms of our ability to occupy or be there at Moon and Mars and other extra planets at some point in time for ensuring our real role and responsibility as far as ensuring safety and security of all these assets are concerned. One of the important intent that we have ensured is the technology that we develop in space sector, especially in ISRO, is made available to the private companies and startups for working on furthering the use for business and commercial intent, especially with the satellite data that we have collected over so many years, the Earth-based observation data. Now we have made it available to all the users at low cost or reasonably free, so that the business get developed in this domain. We also ensure that technologies are available to private companies at an affordable cost, sometimes at a discounted rate for them to make use of it. We have recently announced technology transfer of satellites, technology transfer of even rockets to companies now. So this is a changing environment in space sector now. We would like to see private companies coming up, invest in space and create capability for India for a vibrant space economy in India. Throughout the last 60, 70 years, we have been investing in space from the public funds alone. The private investment in space sector has been very, very low. And this has to change. And this can change only when we open up the sector, we allow private people to operate, and we empower them with the technologies that we already developed by the public funding. And this direction is very clear from the government. And in the Department of Space, we are looking at this possibility. We already have connect between institutions across the nation, laboratories, academic institutions, and this tie-up will become one of the important strengths for ISRO to develop future technology. And we have an array of large number of technology development programs which are already ordered and in progress in the organization. I believe in the coming days, the sector is going to boom, have a significant growth. And recently, one of the survey that we have conducted indicated that the type of growth in economy in space sector is going to be substantially high in various sectors. I think this is going to be an exciting time for all of us. And I believe the Indian strategic community also will look at space as a very integral part of the journey that we need to work on and make use of this capacity as a strength adding or multiplying factor, so that we really create an investment, we create business opportunity, we create manufacturing hubs in space sector in India, not only for civilian use, but also for security of all our assets. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Somnath. And now I would like to introduce Professor Ajay Kumar Sood to all of you, the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. Professor Sood has been the Principal Scientific Advisor since April 2022. He's also the Chairperson of the Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. He has a doctorate in physics from IISc Bangalore. His research interests include the physics of quantum materials, soft and active matter. He has published more than 450 papers in peer-reviewed journals and holds several patents. May I request you, sir, to please deliver the inaugural address. Can I have a round of applause for him, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, my thanks to Nitin Gokhale ji for having me in this August gathering, along with very eminent panelists who have said everything what needs to be said about this civil-military fusion in various forms. Actually, this name catalyst I like because I think what is meant immediately by this is to somehow, with various inputs to enhance the civil-military fusion. I guess that's the purpose of this gathering, because technology is a key player in our security system. Now, if you have to achieve this fusion, we need seamless talent and capacity infusion from various sectors, be it academia, industry, and startups, and so on. Now, as mentioned, that for a long time, this cross play between civil and the strategic use has been happening, and we all are the beneficiaries of that. As was mentioned, GPS, which we cannot live without, is initially designed for military purpose, has now become an integral part of our lives. But I want to take this example to also make a point that GPS would not have been possible but for the general theory of relativity of Einstein. You would not have been able to position without making the correction involving general theory of relativity. The reason I am saying this is that the fundamental science, or the basic science as you call it, is absolutely essential for the cutting edge technology. So whatever is there in the basic science today would become a reality sooner or later for technology which could be used in strategic sector. Now, in that that brings me to an important development in this year, that government launching this Anusandhan National Research Foundation, ANRF. And ANRF is a wonderful instrument which has been brought in to really bring synergy between various funding agencies, various ministries, various departments, and make sure that the whole of government approach, whole of business, industry, all of them come together in this National Research Foundation ecosystem, which will fund not only the basic research, which is essential for cutting edge technology, but also for the translational part, where we would like to see a strong participation of industry along with academia. So there are many examples again of this dual use technologies, and the one again which was mentioned is the internet, again which has become an integral part of our life, which started as a ARPANET and it has now evolved into a very critical infrastructure, and of course it can also be weaponized now, and you can already see that whatever happens in one domain has a natural takeover or the synergy in the other domain. So I will just say that if you look at the obvious things where this fusion is happening and it needs to be enhanced is the sector in AI. AI is integral part of, again, all our technology ecosystem. And this is something which we need to do, in my opinion, on a much, much bigger footing. Because whatever you may say, we are the users of AI, but we do not have enough investment or our take on the foundation models. So India as a country, we need to be really doing in our foundation models, which you just cannot avoid. And this is again something which is happening, and we are discussing ways to do it in a bigger scale. Obviously, the other thing which I am very fond of is the evolving quantum technology. Quantum technology is something which we cannot say whether we should do it or not do it. Question is, when do you get into it in full swing? So in the last 3 to 5 years, the scene has completely changed. What looked really a thing of future is not the future, it's already there. You have quantum computers already, you can buy time on them, and once that happens on a large scale, all your encryptions, 128-bit or 256 encryptions, they are not safe. So the quantum safe world is a reality in civil sector because we have a huge digital economy and the strategic sector. So this is something India has launched a quantum mission, and in this mission, Department of Science and Technology is leading it. But the good point is that other ministries, including DRDO, Atomic Energy, MIT, Department of Telecommunication, all of them are part of it. So quantum is one thing in quantum computing as well as quantum communication. Again, quantum communication is already happening on a small scale, I would call. We have the startups which are internationally competitive. Already the links between Sanchar Bhavan and other buildings in Delhi are operating. But what we need to see is the long-term communication. It can be via satellite or by the secure nodes using quantum repeaters. So this is again very, very fundamental basic science is needed, which will be immediately useful for this quantum network. There are many other things which have been alluded to, be it the semiconductor technology. This is one technology where we were left behind. We missed the bus, as they say. But now there is a completely conscious awareness, and as you have seen, almost like a $10 billion investment government has announced, and already the efforts are on to have a foundry and all other ecosystem. This is again which we cannot avoid, and this is also coming to a coming as a key thing because you really need the safety of the hardware. So you have the safety of the software, but also equally important is the hardware. And again here the semiconducting chip technology will be absolutely essential for our defense. So there are many other things I will not say, but I will only say that things are happening on a very positive note in our country. Many programs have been announced which are encouraging the startups, which are encouraging the industry engagements, all along with the academia. And this, I hope, will really pick up in the coming months and years. And I see a very bright future for this infusion of civil and military use. Once again, all the very best for this conclave, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Sood. May I please request Nitin to present mementos to our dignitaries on stage. We've come to the end of the inaugural session of Catalyst 2023. The mementos are a small token of gratitude to all our dignitaries on stage for taking out the time and sharing their thoughts and ideas with us. A memento to Ms. Nivruti Rai, to Dr. Samir Kamath, to Ambassador P.S. Raghavan, to Dr. S. Somnath, and Professor Ajay Sood. Very quickly, I'll take a minute more. I would like to propose the vote of thanks for this session. First of all our speakers on the dais, thank you for taking out the time. Our esteemed guests, the Foreign Defense Attachés, India's military officers, technocrats and thinkers present in the audience, industry delegates, and there are some students also who have joined us, the future of our nation. I'm sure you will continue to take back a lot of ideas with you. I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you on behalf of bharatshakti.in and StratNewsGlobal.com and Interstellar.news for taking out the time and making it to our event. I hope the rest of the 2 knowledge sessions that will follow till lunch will be as engaging and interesting, and we will have lots to think about, lots to talk about. I would now request our dignitaries to please join the audience. And for those of you who are in a hurry, who have to leave, I request you to please visit the kiosks before you go. Please take out some time, very painstakingly put up by our partners. Nitin, could you do the needful? If you could just request, can I have a round of applause, please, once again for this session? Thank you so much. Once again, requesting our dignitaries to please do a kiosk visit and join the audience. For those of you who have to leave, thank you once again for coming. And, it was lovely having you. In the meantime, let's do a quick handover, my team, and we'll proceed without delay into our first knowledge session.